Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the movie, we are going to be covering some potential spoilers. What's up, guys? Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them opened this past weekend, and there's already speculation about what's to come for the franchise. I have Spencer here to help me discuss and break down what we know is coming, what we think might be coming, and what we'd personally like to see.
Let's get beastly.
Let's get beastly. Let's get started up here. So what we do know, one kind of quick factoid, is that, of course, in the next installment of Fantastic Beasts that we'll be seeing, Dumbledore, a young Dumbledore, should be making an appearance. And along with that, we should be getting some other returning characters. I believe what's been confirmed so far is Newt, Tina, Queenie, Grindelwald, and Credence Barebone. Oh, and Dan Fogler. Mm-hmm. And what I found is interesting, in a recent interview, David Yates has already kind of said that those characters are kind of taking like a smaller role, aside from Dumbledore, Grindelwald, and Credence. And it sounds like they're kind of pushing the whole Dumbledore-Grindelwald story to the forefront.
Yeah, it's interesting. This does two things for me. One, it makes me more excited for the sequel. Agreed. And then two, it makes me ask, then what the hell did we just watch? Right. If they're already leaving these characters behind and we're not going to grow with them like we did with Harry, Ron, and Hermione, why did we spend all that time running around New York?
I completely agree. I think that this movie was incredibly charming. I think it works as kind of like a self-contained story, but it did kind of seem like it was kind of Fantastic Beasts was slapped on to a Grindelwald Rising movie.
Yeah, just at the end, that was like a little bit of a cliffhanger for what's coming next. I didn't feel like there are too many outstanding questions about Newt and Tina and Queenie.
Not at all, and it's funny because I feel like anybody who has like the internet, not that you'd want to spoil anything for yourself, but I mean, you can really kind of already find out Newt and Tina, they end up together. You know, we can already see where this relationship is going.
I actually seriously didn't know that.
Oh no, that's a spoiler. Sorry.
Damn it.
One interesting thing though that I do like that they'd be moving forward more with Grindelwald and Dumbledore is, like I said, we can kind of come to a conclusion about Newt's story, and I think that the story for this wrapped up kind of neatly. Whereas we know Dumbledore and Grindelwald have a history, we know that they've battled in the past, but that's not really what we find interesting about it. What we find interesting is the relationship that they had, because it's only been hinted at in the books. It's
been hinted at. Obviously, that is a thing that I know about that J.K. Rowling's fleshed out in the background and on Pottermore and stuff like that. And if we're getting young Dumbledore, we're getting a very different Dumbledore than we're used to.
We're getting somebody who's potentially more vulnerable, someone who we can see get hurt and is still kind of rising to the Dumbledore that we see by the time we get to the Harry Potter series.
Or it could be, almost the exact opposite character, because he was on Grindelwald's side early on. He was as anti-Muggle as the rest of them. So we could be getting bad Dumbledore in these sequels.
Which might be kind of fun. It might be kind of like an opposite prequel to like the Phantom Menace on, like instead of Anakin being good and then...
Don't compare this to the Phantom
that was
Menace.
a bad... That's on my part.
We'll just pretend that never happened.
This has nothing to do with the Phantom Menace. Some other news that was kind of picked up was that they're going to be investigating a little bit more about Zoe Kravitz's character, Leta Lestrange, who we see in Fantastic Beasts here and there in a kind of like a picture frame. And we know essentially that her and Newt have a history. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, we know she's not a giver.
That's absolutely, yeah.
She's a taker.
Yeah.
And it could be interesting. I can't imagine watching a romance between Zoe Kravitz and Eddie Redmayne.
It does seem a little odd. It seems a little jarring.
Yeah, I can't imagine a romance between Eddie Redmayne and anyone. He just seems so...
I did think that was really interesting about this movie is he seemed kind of just there at points in time. I think that Zoe Kravitz's character kind of gave him a little bit more depth. The Obscurus that I'll mention here briefly kind of gave him a little bit more kind of clues of what we might be seeing, but other than that...
He was not oozing sexuality.
No, not at all, not at all. And Tina was just with it. She was okay with that. She's like, all right, I'm down.
Yeah, that was like a big will they, won't they, and then they won't, apparently. A weird choice.
And while we're on the topic, or while I hit upon the topic of the Obscurus, there's a theory that's going around that I think is kind of fun, that the Obscurus in Newt's suitcase is actually Ariana Dumbledore, which I thought could be a cool way to bring in Dumbledore.
Who is the sister that was killed in the duel?
Correct.
By Aberforth or someone, or Grindelwald?
Grindelwald and Dumbledore.
We don't really know who struck the killing blow.
Somebody was enough for them to not be bros anymore, essentially. I think that would be kind of an interesting way to kind of bring Dumbledore in without it necessarily just being like, wait, I'm Newt Scamander. He's like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm Dumbledore. Let's go fight Grindelwald.
Sure, he could just be like, I have a new textbook for you, Professor, and then they hand it off. But yeah, I like that idea.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, who would be your main pick for your Dumbledore casting, your Albus Dumbledore casting?
Well, he's in. Well, if Dumbledore is 118 or whatever when he dies in Harry Potter, we're talking about half that. So this is a guy in his 60s, I imagine, 50s, something like that.
Yeah, I think he was born in the late 1800s.
So yeah, I would go with Liam Neeson, of all people.
Interesting.
For a couple of reasons. One, I think his Irishness matches the Irishness of Michael Gambon really well, that he still has that kind of that lilt to his voice. But as we're saying, Dumbledore was a badass growing up, and maybe even a bad man. And I believe Liam Neeson as a bad man with good inside of him. We've just seen that time and time again from him. So I don't want to see him or anyone else kiss Johnny Depp, but still, that's my pick.
Very interesting, very interesting. I would have to say I want to go with Colin Firth. And the reason I want to is because I think that he's proven that, and this is going off of if Dumbledore was more of kind of vulnerable or he's younger, because I think Colin Firth has shown that he can take on roles that are more badass, like Harry Hart in Kingsman.
Yeah.
But he can also take on these more vulnerable roles, like Jamie in Love Actually. And I think that'd be kind of like a nice balance to see him kind of coming into his own.
Or Liam Neeson in Love Actually.
Or Liam Neeson in Love Actually. Yeah, to be completely honest, that works just as well. But no, I think Liam Neeson would also be a great kind of Aslan-like Dumbledore.
Yeah, I love your pick too. It's tough to find good British actors who haven't been in a Harry Potter movie yet.
Absolutely.
So we got the best of what's left.
Absolutely. Well, I guess that's about all the time we have for the day, folks. So don't forget to share, like, and subscribe, and tweet us at SJ News with any information or any theories you have. And for all of your Screen Junkies news, click the links over here.